In this video, I'm going to show you how to oil your valves. You will need your instrument, some paper towel or a soft cloth or tissue, and some valve oil. Now, whichever valve is sticky is the valve that you're going to need to unscrew, and you're going to unscrew not from the top part, but from this part underneath. Once you have unscrewed, you can take the valve completely out. If you're playing a larger instrument like a baritone, euphonium or tuba, be careful that you don't tip the instrument upside down, because the spring inside is loose and it will fall out. If you have a trumpet or cornet, the spring is usually inside the actual valve so that it doesn't come apart. That's why it's important not to unscrew this part, because then the whole valve will fall apart. Now, using your tissue, you're going to give the valve a quick wipe to get off any of the dirt that's already on the valve. Then, using your valve oil, you're going to squirt a small amount of oil across the main part of the valve, not this bit at the top, because that doesn't touch the sides when you place it inside the instrument, just this bit at the bottom. It doesn't need to be squirted into the holes, just along the silver part here. Once you've coated all sides of the valve, you can pop the valve back into the instrument. Now, it's important to put the valve the correct way round, otherwise you won't be able to blow through the instrument properly afterwards. On a cornet or trumpet, you've usually got these white plastic bits on either side of the valve, this one here and this one here. One of them is smaller than the other, so the small plastic bit needs to be lined up next to the smaller pipe here that you blow through, and the large plastic bit needs to be lined up next to the larger part of the instrument here. If you turn the valve slightly as you put it in, you should hear it click, and that's the guides, the plastic guides, lining up with the slots in the valves. Before you do that, you might want to give your valve a little bit of a spin inside. That's just to lubricate the inside of the valve casing, and then get it lined up as I've just described. Get it to click, and then you can tighten up the top of the valve. Once you've tightened it up, give it a nice wiggle and repeat for the other valves. If you have a baritone, euphonium or tuba, you probably won't have those two plastic bits I've just talked about. What you will have instead is a valve that looks like this. So there's no spring at the top because you have a loose spring, and then there is one plastic guide just here. So when you put your valve back into your instrument, that plastic part needs to line up with the groove that is inside the valve casing. You won't be able to put the valve inside the instrument unless it's lined up properly. If you need to do all valves, I would suggest doing them one at a time so that they don't get muddled up. Usually on the valve, there is a number. Let's see if we can find it on this one. Yes, so this one here has a number 1 inscribed at the top of the valve. So that is your first valve, the one that goes closest to the mouthpiece. Usually on the valve casing itself, you will also see the numbers inscribed. There we go. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. After you have put your valve back in and it's lined up properly and it wiggles up and down properly without any clicking noises, then you need to test your instrument to make sure that you have done it correctly.